Hi guys, have at it.
What do you think of being a 2 seed, and did yesterday's result, matter at all?
I don't know how much yesterday's result mattered, to be honest. I think no matter what, it would have been hard to pass Gonzaga as a 2 seed. Even if the outcome was different yesterday. Maybe we could have, maybe we wouldn't. But I think that based on the way the outcome was, if we were going to be a 2 seed, I think we definitely got what we should have had, and that's like being in Kentucky's bracket, without question. But then after that, it's a hard first game. If you study them, I think New Mexico State is 23-10, but they had some injuries. That's the reason why they lost some early. In Marvin, we played them in the past, and they've given us a handful when we played them. But they're good. I watched them last night on TV, just flipping channels, and then of course the second round matchup would be a dream matchup for Bob Lutz, without question. But it would be a situation, we get a chance to play. If you're fortunate enough to win, the winner of Indiana, storied program, or Wichita State, which how in the world they're a 7 seed blows my mind. At 28-4. So I thought the Missouri Valley, to be honest, probably deserved a little bit more credit than what they got, because I think they were not seeded. I thought they'd be a higher seed, and I thought Northern Iowa would be a higher seed too. But you got to lace them up. You got to play, and certainly our goal is to go win 2 games this weekend, and we'll adjust from there.
What do you tell the team today? What was the message? I mean, human nature would see Kentucky in this bracket.
You know what? If we get a chance to play, if this team gets a chance to play in the Elite 8 game, then it's been a hell of a week. Let's just call it like it is. So regardless of who you play, it'd be a great opportunity for a one-shot deal to go to the Final Four. But you look at the other brackets. I mean, do you want to play Wisconsin? Do you want to play Duke? Do you want to play Villanova or whatnot? I mean, the answer would be they're all good. Now, Kentucky's been at a different level without question, but we don't even need to talk about that. I hope we have to talk about that next week. We need to win a 4-game tournament, 14 tournament this weekend, and that would be the same goal as of New Mexico State. It'll be the same goal of Wichita State and Indiana, but it'll certainly be some pretty good ball. There's some good teams playing in our pod.
Coach, will you try to get some rest this week for your guys, or how what do you think your schedule will be like?
Well, we're going to practice tomorrow. We took today off, and I'll be candid with you. Kansas City was a lot more taxing on us than maybe what you guys know, because we're beat up. I mean, we are beat up, and so we'll do a recovery lift tomorrow, and certainly if we do much tomorrow, it'll be primarily shooting, and then we'll get. I think Friday helps us. So then we could maybe go real light tomorrow, but it'd be 30 or 40 minutes, and then really get into it on Tuesday and Wednesday before we leave. But the most important thing is try to get our bodies back fresh. And Landon's really nicked up. Perry actually did very, very well, even though he's not close to being where he needs to be. So this next 4 days are real important for him to get that bounce back and that fire back in his jump and explosion. Frank's played a lot of minutes. He's tired. Wayne played a lot of minutes in the tournament. I mean, we had some guys play a lot of minutes. So I think a day and a half probably rest would probably be good for us.
You said you watched New Mexico State. What did you see from them, or what do you know about them?
Well, when I said I watched, I'm flipping channels, but I actually went through it today, because I usually don't do this. I go through all the teams that could be in the 10 teams that would be seeded 15 or 16, because there's six 16s and there's 4 15s, and I had New Mexico State like as a 13. So because they weren't in my pot, they were in my pot of teams that I selected. So I was surprised when we drew them. But I've said that most years. I think that as soon as you get them, your first thinking is like, God, that seems harder than what other people got. But when you really start studying it, they're all hard. So, but it is a hard first game. It is a hard first game, and certainly we got to be ready come Friday, because this team and we've shown that when we're good, but when we're not very good, we can really labor in a lot of ways, and we can't afford to take any more 5 to 10 minute breaks like we did last night.
you agree with 7 from Big 12 getting in?
Yeah, I did. I was happy about that. I guess Texas was really the only team on the bubble because Oklahoma State was at 9, I think, so they weren't on the bubble. But I was pleased for Texas and happy for Rick.
You think the selection committee has a little bit of a sense of humor or something to that nature when they put Wichita State in with you guys?
I told our guys that, that's the first thing that they said. I said, gosh, dang, what are they thinking? And I told our guys, I said, you know how many bullets we dodged throughout my coaching career on potential matchups like that? There's been a lot of potential matchups that, we dodged Wichita State or they dodged us, or we dodged Carolina or they dodged us, and in a lot of ways that it took, you had to win, 2 or 3 games before you'd have a chance to match up. So I don't know that, I don't want to say that they've had a sense of humor about it, but I will say this, I was thinking they were a lot better. When the brackets were coming out and I was going through it, I said, well, worst case scenario, if they gave Northern Iowa a 4, they'd be a 5. I mean, they gave a team a 2 seed line higher when Wichita State won the league outright. But in our league, we win the league outright and get beat in the tournament, but we're a line higher. So it's not really consistent in how they did things, but there's also all this criteria that goes into it, and then you try to keep teams travel-wise closer because there's such a problem with charter airplanes. Charter airplanes has been a problem with the NCAA tournament because you want to play as many teams close to home as possible, so there's less planes that you have to use, and have the problems that we've had last year. So I think there's a lot of different things that go into it.
With the game just up the road, what do you expect fan-wise?
In Omaha?
Yeah.
Well, we've always had a good turnout in Omaha. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't Wisconsin up the road too? And they'll travel great, so they'll be great venues. Of course, we won't be playing, except on Sunday potentially, we won't be playing where Wisconsin would be playing. Because obviously the first night it won't. But Wichita State will travel great. So, and we always travel good to Omaha. And if you guys remember back, we've actually had a couple of pretty good runs going through Omaha. So we won it in 08, got to the finals in 12. So I'm not at all disappointed at all about being in Omaha.
What do you think about Larry Brown getting into the tournament?
Well, he was going to get in because they won it,
Yeah.
But what a year! I think they're like 28-6 or something like that. And I watched the game; they're good. I was really hopeful that they weren't a 7 or whatnot, because I know that would be a talked about game. But now we've actually given you guys even more to talk about than that from a potential standpoint. But I'm really happy for Coach. Really happy for Coach.
What was your team's reaction?
Our guys really don't get too excited about too much. As you guys know, how we play sometimes. So their excitement level was basically, do we need to stay and watch the rest of this? We know who we're playing. So they're ready to move on from there. But I think that they're excited, and I know one player that should be more excited than anybody else, just from a potential standpoint, and that'd be Perry. Because he's potentially, if we win and if they win, potentially it sets up a pretty big matchup for a guy from that hometown.
Do you remember a year when a team was as prohibitive a favorite as Kentucky, or goes into it with such stature?
No. No. They're and deservedly so. I think, when we saw them early, we obviously weren't any good that day, but they were great, and we've actually gained on that. But the scary thing is they've gained on it too. They're a lot better now than they were back then. So, they're the. I saw something in Vegas. Norm was talking today. He said they're 10-11 to win the national championship, and the other teams were 7-1 or 25-1 or whatever. And Norm said, "What does that mean?" I said, "Well, it means you got to bet $1.10 to win $1. Where everybody else would bet $1 to win $25. If you're 25-1." And he figured out real quick, well, they're favored then. So I tried to explain that to him, and probably didn't do a very good job. But I don't know if we've ever had a team, and Larry, you may know better than me, that was even I mean, you can't even get even money, you know, based on what I read in Vegas. With, you know, I shouldn't be talking about Vegas, but that goes to show you. My point is that I think they're a pretty heavy favorite.
How much would you judge the overall success of this season, kind of from this point going forward?
Well, I think this has happened, and you guys may not agree with how I assess our team, but we've had a real good season. I mean, we've had a real good season. But in order to say, hey, it was a great season, you got to do well in the Big 12 tournament counts, but it doesn't really count. And just like if you win how about Wisconsin? They get a chance to celebrate the Big 10 championship for 5 minutes. And then forget about that, they go on to the next deal. You know, Iowa State gets a chance to celebrate till about 2 o'clock today, and then they'll focus in and do everything else. And we get a chance to feel sorry for ourselves till about 2 o'clock today, and then that's over. Everything, our energy is totally refocused. And it's the shortest time frame that you can either be sad or you can celebrate anything. And so it was disappointing, obviously to lose, but if we'd have won, I feel the same way today as I did, you know, because everything's fresh and new and that kind of stuff. So that was disappointing, but there's not a long hangover with it. But in order to make it a great season, we got to do good in the tournament. And to me, I think this tournament will determine whether or not it's a real good season or whether or not it's a great season. You know, how we do in Omaha, to be real candid with you. I'd love to be able to go to the Sweet 16 and play, you know, maybe the hottest team in the ACC potentially, and then play the best team in the country. And if you're able to do those things, I mean, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But certainly, I do think these first 2 games are definitely what I would evaluate this particular team's success on, as far as to make it great.
Season, after what you lost and everything, would you have taken a 2 seed?
Oh yeah. If you told me we were a 2 seed before the season, we played. Guys, we played our walk-ons the last 3 minutes against Kentucky, and usually we don't do that, especially when you're down 35. So I mean, after that game, I was thinking, can we even win? Can we get to 10, or can we get to 15? So, you know, being a 2 seed, obviously, it means the guys have gotten a lot better and tried real hard. Really proud of them.
How do you approach Cliff going into the NCAA?
I don't even think that I should even talk about Cliff anymore with you guys. There's no new information. I don't have any new information. I've already told you, you know, what our feelings were, and if there's new information, you'll get it. But until then, I don't even think it deserves mention, because all it does is take away what's really important right now, which is our guys getting ready to play.
You talked a lot about being beat up. Is there any way as a coach entering Friday that can be the opposite of beat up?
Yeah, I think we can be fresher. I think that Landon needs a couple of days. You know, Landon's gone from a guy that if he was beat up, you know, 4 weeks ago, well, it's fine, set him out. If you got him, you got him, you know. Now he goes as a guy, God, we've got to have him. And certainly the same way with Perry. You know, Perry did so good in Kansas City because he needed to get hit. He needed to have some things that would happen if he waited until next week, happened this past week, so he gets past that. So I think that was all a bonus right there. So I think that we can be as close to a whole as we've been the last month, probably, if we're able to get some rest this week.
Did you see what happened with Sheldon and the signs of it coming? I mean,
no, not really. But I did, you know, we've been knowing him a lot, and he's been very conscious of it, is not settle. And I think he did a better job of not settling. I mean, he was, those last 2 games, he didn't have a good game against TCU at all. And we had, you know, we had a lot of talking, we did a lot of talking with our entire team on how displeased we were, because I think it's a reflection of attitudes more than it is talent on all those things. And his attitude has been so good the last 2 days, and he didn't settle, and he took the ball to the hole and was aggressive. I thought he played great over there. Great. And I see that as a positive. You know, we did it. Kelly Oubre was great one game. Wayne was great one game. You know, Frank had his moments where he was really, really good. And then, you know, Perry didn't have his balance. But, I mean, if we get those 4 guys playing well, we'll be hard to deal with.
Coach, is there a feeling of momentum as you head into the tournament, or is it truly a reset
now once you start?
I think it's both. I think if you got momentum, if you talk about momentum, and if you don't have momentum, you talk about reset. And sell it however you need to sell it. But I think a lot of coaches would probably tell you that. I actually think that we've done, guys, the first half yesterday against Iowa State, considering the circumstances and P not being, himself yet and all that stuff, hey, that's about as good as we can play. I mean, we didn't make shots and we still played good. I mean, that was pretty good. And then in the second half, we didn't have the same intensity level at all, and let them get where they wanted to get, and then just struggled so much coming back. But even with that being said, you're down 7 with 5 left, and you still come back and tie it with a minute and a half left and had your chance. But I was proud of our guys for 25 minutes of that game. We were the better team, but the other 15 we were not even close. I mean, they whipped us. So there were some good things that happened there. How we defended and rebounded against Baylor was a huge positive. How we rebounded the ball against TCU was a huge positive. So I think we have some positive things going, but we need Perry to be back healthy. That's the bottom line. And when he gets that back and gets that explosiveness and that quick twitch back, I think that we'll be a much better looking team.
All year long, most people thought the Big 12 was the best conference in the land. How much do you think that'll be validated depending on how they do in the NCAA tournament?
I think, last year we were rated the #1 conference too, weren't we? Weren't we 1 last year or 2? I thought we were 1. I can't remember. I thought you guys covered us. But the bottom line is that we didn't do well in the tournament. Our league as a whole. I think Iowa State was the only team that advanced to the Sweet 16 last year. So we didn't do real well as a league, and I think that did kind of devalue the regular season. And of course, it is important to have your teams do well in the postseason. And the seedings that we have certainly reflected us having. We got a 2 and 3 threes. I mean, that's unheard of almost. I mean, so the seedings did reflect that the committee thought very favorably of our league and how good the league was, which they should have. But I think to validate it, you got to go play well and have some teams, whether it be 3 or 4 teams, get to that second weekend or whatnot.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Okay, guys.